First of all, salam alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum salam.
I'm grateful for the invitation of the conveners and the organizers to ask of my contribution for this very important topic. And this topic is not new. These presentations reflect many years of effort and expertise that's been contributed by every panelist. I really enjoy a conference like this one. I like to contribute. I like to collaborate. And equally important to me is I like to learn. And I have learned as much today for your presentations and your expertise as I have done in any conference in my 39 years of being a practicing lawyer. So I commend every panelist for their thoughtful presentations. There is a common thread between them all, even though there's some different emphasis, some new points. There is a very powerful common thread that people have shared. And I've learned from each of you. I've been representing the Afar people as a lawyer on individual claims of asylum and protection for more than 30 years. From that great honor came an invitation by Ahmed Yusuf Mohammed, our moderator on this panel, who took me to the Afar region. I had for decades dreamt of an opportunity to go to Africa, but I did not want to sign up on a safari to go take pictures of beautiful animals, which unfortunately all too many in the Western world do. And by so doing, they think they've gone to Africa and achieved one of their life's dreams. Every such person I meet in decades before I got the chance, rare that Ahmed took me there, and in the many decades since, every such person I tell them, after you've taken pictures of the lions and the tigers and the giraffes and the hippos, come back and see me. I want you to come with me to meet the people, meet the Afar people, be embedded in their culture, in their customs, and your life will be much more enhanced than any crocodile photograph or hyena you might have heard during the evenings. I've been 13 times, and what draws me to the Afar cause is how they share, how they love, how they are respectful as Indigenous peoples, and despite the odds, how resourceful they are. And I want to speak to that because it's their persistence, it's their resourcefulness that has allowed them to continue in the most difficult of circumstances. And I mean not just climate change, I mean not just the heat, not just the desert of the Danakil Depression, where most of those in Ethiopia are living as pastoralists, but I mean the geopolitical persecution and the suppression and oppression that we all speak of today. That's what draws me to the Afar cause. That's what's caused me to become an advocate and to invite the participation and contribution of many others. Over the last 18 years with our Can-Go Afar Foundation, we have raised $700,000 of private donations, which we have sent to 2 local implementing partners. And I want to tell you who they are. Okay? First of all, there's the Afar Pastoralist Development Association, which is the largest Afar NGO operating in Ethiopia and in the cross-border areas. What they have done, despite the odds over these many years, to deploy humanitarian aid is remarkable. And I am proud that they are a local implementing partner of the foundation that Ahmed and I created and lead to this day. Another MOU was signed this year with Samara University. And we are funding projects with Samara University, principally at the moment, funding a library for high school students who are Afar, who come to live in a boarding school on the campus. And what's being done is opportunities are being created that they will pass the university entrance exam and move on to post-secondary education, which is a very rare opportunity for the Afar people. This year, I've been to the Afar region twice, in February and again in July. And I was recently appointed a visiting professor of law at the law school at Samara University, an appointment of which I'm very proud. And like I said earlier, it's many, many years in the making to develop these relationships based on trust. I'm very thankful for Professor Packer and his comments about how groups like the Afar need to identify goals, but strategies and tactics, and go into meetings and negotiations with positions, but understanding that all of this needs to be thought through with an idea of having understanding and sharing. It's not a zero-sum game. And all too often, that region of the world is thought to be that. What I have, I want to keep, and you cannot have. And what you have, we will fight for, and vice versa. And that has created lasting conflict. We are here today to talk about principally the mistreatment of the Afar people in Eritrea, which Professor Dr. Babakar has told us is a challenging area because we cannot go there. He cannot go there. Our work as humanitarian people, as advocates, as investigators, to not just monitor the human rights situation in Eritrea, but try to help it, is blocked because we're not allowed to go there. Or if we were to go there because of our outspoken opposition of Eritrea, harm may come to us. And I want to thank everyone on this panel for their courage in standing up to the oppressor. Now, can we look at my slides, please? Ahmed, if you can load my presentation. It's not very long. It's quite blunt. It's in point form. That's slide number 1, just the title of this presentation. Slide 2, please. So this gives you some idea of the scope, the scale, and the cause of the flood of Afar refugees out of Eritrea into Ethiopia as measured here. But as we know, and we saw in Professor Joseph Magnet's slides, they get on boats and go across the Red Sea at great personal risk. And they go into North Africa and they cross the Mediterranean, aiming for Italy and other places. Again, at great personal risk, and many perish. Even coming through the desert from Eritrea into Ethiopia is a very harsh and very dangerous migration. You can see 82% of the movement is caused by conflict. And this number here of the UNHCR of registered Eritrean Afar refugees, numbering some 63,000, is an estimate. There's plenty more who are not registered by the UNHCR, who have merely gotten into Ethiopia and have been accommodated in the homes, in the communities of the Afar, because they are the same people. And the Afar are the most welcoming people on planet Earth I've ever met. Next slide, please. This is the universal accepted definition of what a convention refugee is, as defined by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees following the end of the Second World War. This is the universally applied definition of a convention refugee. Someone who's crossed the border, someone who's gone into a member state and makes a refugee claim based on one of these grounds. Now, I can say, of the hundreds that I have represented who have gotten themselves to Canada, a very difficult thing to do, by the way, because you got to cross an ocean, or you got to get a Canadian visa to get here, or an American visa to get to America and then cross into Canada across an increasingly enforced border. Again, very, very difficult. In my experience, 100% of Afar Indigenous people that have been able to get to Canada are accepted by our tribunal, the Immigration Refugee Board. And when I started doing this 30 years ago, there was very little published work on the human rights situation in Eritrea and the treatment of the Afar people there. Now, fortunately, because of conferences like this and the expertise on this panel and elsewhere, there's more and more information available. I want to thank Professor Dr. Lawyer Babakar for his courageous work in doing a very difficult and dangerous job. He has become an expert on the treatment and mistreatment of the Afar people in Eritrea, and that does not happen easily. It has happened because of his dedication and understanding of the mistreatment of the minority Indigenous Afar people in Eritrea. And each one of his reports seems to have focused on something that's new or different that, before wasn't able, and more recently, the Eritrean Navy, which I learned about today. And I want to thank you, Professor Dr. Babakar, for that difficult and very important work. Before you and your predecessors, nothing had been reported of any credibility about the mistreatment of the Afar in Eritrea. Next slide, please. Some, including Professor Joseph Magnet, have listed what I've called the grievances of the Afar people against the rogue regime of Eritrea. This is a list. And all you have to do is meet an Afar person anywhere in the world, and they will corroborate their mistreatment, that of their relatives, that of their neighbors, that of their people, on any and all of these scores or lists, which are any one of these is cause for a refugee claim that should be accepted and validated. And in the case of Canada, our tribunal has done exactly that. As an immigration and refugee lawyer, I tend to be a practitioner. I've appreciated the very high and detailed presentations of all the other panelists. In my experience, doing the work that I do with the Afar people, I tend to be, I sometimes refer to myself as a plumber or a carpenter, finding a solution, finding an advocacy point so that we can have a progressive movement of the goalposts so that the person or the group that I'm representing can have safety and security. So can I have the next slide, please? As Professor Joseph Magnet had recommendations, 3 critical ones, I here have listed some ideas that we must do to have some solutions for the grievances, which are listed in the earlier slide. All of us and many others gathered today and beyond, we need to donate our time. We need to donate our expertise, and we need to donate, for those who can, money, small amounts or large amounts, whatever is possible, to NGOs who do the heavy lifting, because governments are not doing it. Number 2, we need to collect the evidence of mistreatment. Ahmed Yusuf Mohammed, his group, and Professor Joseph Magnet have done exactly that and filed that with the United Nations Special Rapporteur, Professor Dr. Babakar. And he has expressed his thanks today to those who have done that, because he's not able to get into Eritrea. So he has to rely on the evidence collected by others, including a list of deponents, so that he can and his team interview them wherever they're located in the world. And he's done exactly that at great inconvenience and cost. Number 3, that evidence has to be used to justify complaints with the UN and other government agencies, like our Canadian government or any other, for that matter, including Ethiopia, which Professor Joseph Magnet made mention of earlier. Next, we've got to use this evidence to be the basis of our advocacy, to build awareness, to do activism. No one else is doing it. It's up to us to do that. And this conference, like many others, is a very important platform. It's being taped. It'll be distributed for the world to see. And we have to sign letters or petitions and more to be part of the tools in our toolbox to raise awareness, to get governments to wake up to the reality of what's going on in Eritrea, so that something can be done, something more than is done now, to put pressure on Eritrea through governments and the United Nations to change their ways, and hopefully resulting in regime change there, so that the Afar people can have more autonomy, more self-governance, more recognition of their rights as Indigenous peoples, but also as a minority group in hopefully a post-authoritarian Eritrea that perhaps, at best, could have a federal form of government similar to that of Canada, similar, hopefully, to that of Ethiopia, where the Afar people are recognized and they have peace, security, and good governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Wadee. That was excellent. We are grateful to your leadership.